afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's Wednesday Web Chat. And we're on the topic of food. It's on everybody's mind. Everybody loves food in Singapore, and everybody has been trying to find ways and means of getting around the predicament of late, where you've been stuck at home, or you can't go out, you can't meet with friends. So it's food for talk, and we've got 4 panelists today. 3 of them are in the industry, in the food industry, and another one is here to provide legal advice if it's needed, and is also a food fanatic. So we've got on our panel today, Arul Inthirarajah, who's in the financial sector and started his Sushi Airways, which is in Arab Street. It's a small, tucked away little restaurant, very cozy. Welcome, Arul. Then we have Dhershini Winodan, who's a chef, a cookbook author. She started a restaurant together with a partner called Chat Masala, which was in the East Coast and also in Bukit Timah. And she's exited that business and she's now doing some home dining experiences. Welcome, Dhershini.
Hi, thank you.
We've got the lawyer in this group who is also an author, long-time friend of ours. It's Adrian Tang, and he just likes to eat. All right, so that was his claim to fame as far as this discussion is concerned. Just kidding, before he starts to sue me. Welcome, Adrian. And we've got Stephen Francis, probably better known for his musical escapades with his sister Irene. He's a pianist. He's performed in various, since he was, 11 years old or something like that, he's been performing. Yep. And he's only 22 at the moment. And he is starting his first restaurant. Welcome, Stephen. Welcome everybody to this session. And of course, we welcome your questions from the audience, and we have a Q&A box. So feel free to write your questions in there and we'll try and address them. Stephen, since you're the new person to enter this fray, maybe you'd like to let us know what possessed you to want to open a restaurant at this time?
What possessed me? Wow. I guess the pandemic helps a little, by me staying at home and,
So you were experimenting a lot more with recipes and stuff?
A lot more, yeah.
So tell us a bit about your restaurant.
Yeah, what we'll be doing is a halal dim sum. Basically all what you find in the Chinese restaurant, in a dim sum restaurant. You can find it here, except no pork because it's halal, right? Yeah. And why we think of halal, because I know of a lot of Muslim people, they love eating Chinese food, but they can't, right? Because it's pork, right? Yeah. So it's a good opportunity, And also Singapore, if you look around, I think there's only a handful of halal dim sum around, about 4 or 5 maybe, Yeah. So it's good.
So you've got a niche, you figure.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I noticed even some Chinese people, some of my friends, and relatives, most of them don't eat pork nowadays, Yeah. Pork is like sinful to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. To each his own, I guess.
Yeah.
So Dhershini, you've been in the game. So what was it like, and why did you exit Chat Masala?
When I opened Chat Masala, I thought that was the icing on my cake, actually, because, I've always been in the food business. I write cookbooks, I give cooking classes, and, I've always been in food. But when I opened Chat Masala, it was the icing on the cake, indeed. But and I was, owner for 17 years, and wow. I really must say that I enjoyed every minute of that business. But I felt like, after about maybe about 15 years, I felt it was very tough for us to continue doing that business. And, we had difficulties getting staff, we had difficulties getting chefs. It was just too much. And I think if you're young and younger and you can, go with the business, that's fine. But I thought as I got a little bit older, I just figured that, I'll be so much happier without all that stress. And I decided to do this home dining that I'm doing now, which is giving me so much joy, because I still meet people and I still get the chance to cook what I want to cook. And people tell me what they want to eat, so that even makes it easier. So whenever they say they're coming over, I'll say, what's the cuisine that you would like me to cook? And they tell me, and I try my best to get it done. So
I think we have a date with you this Saturday, right? Karan?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Hey, you should try and venture forth and try some of her cuisine is great. I mean, I enjoyed Chat Masala's food to start off with. So.
Really good, yeah. So I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. I think yeah. I choose my days, I choose my dates, I choose my people, I choose my food. So what's not to?
So the choice is entirely yours then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Arul, so you're not quite 15 or 17 years in the industry, right? So
No.
do you think you might reach a situation where you will face that point, where you feel, oh gosh, it's all a bit too much?
Oh, actually, this is Sushi Airways is the second venture. The first one crashed and burned within 1 year. Okay, which was a halal French restaurant.
Halal French.
Underneath where Sushi Airways is today.
Okay.
So I actually got into that on a whim, which was a bad idea, as always, because I love the chef's food. Okay, and he was moving from 10 Haji Lane, okay, to which works now, to the corner shop at Baghdad and Busara. So when he was doing the renovation, I just happened to be walking around outside having a teh tarik, and then spotted him and said, hey, what's going on? He says, oh, I'm opening a shop. You want to be an investor? So I said, oh, wonderful. So
very fortuitous on his part.
You're going to be making a profit. Okay, that's the most important thing when you're running a restaurant. Running a restaurant is more than being a good cook. That's just the first step. After that, it's a full process. Okay, it's like running a factory. Okay, and that is, you have to master that in order to turn a profit. So, suffice to say, okay, the Excel calculations, which are always so good on paper, will always crash and burn because of they have the optimistic factor built into Excel, which will crash and burn most budding businesses. The rule of thumb, essentially, for opening a new restaurant is to understand the 30-30-30 principle, and this operates globally. Okay, the 30-30-30 principle is 30% of your costs will go into food, 30% will go into staffing, and 30% will go into rental, marketing, and other admin. Okay, so that leaves you just 10% net profit margin to work with. Okay, if you screw up on any of those first three, you're done for. Okay, from even before you start. Okay, so most new players to the F&B industry make the mistake of overpaying for rental. Okay, they take a nice location, okay, and based on their optimistic projections of revenue, they may be moving to something close to 40% or even 50%. Take some place like Dempsey, which sees so many casualties. Okay, rentals out there are prohibitive, and the operations are almost sure to fail, almost sure, unless they can generate revenue beyond the revenue stream from that particular location. Okay, that means they would have developed a brand, and they would be selling merchandise related to the brand elsewhere. Okay, the 10% net margin, okay, will have to, at the very best, okay, cover all your capital input, okay, and you have to amortize your capital input, which will be the renovations and everything that is out of this 30-30-30, okay. Food cost 30% is a rule of thumb across the industry. If you start to exceed that, if you start running to 35 and you say, oh, let me do a bit more for my customers and I don't want to charge them so much, you know, I'm being a nice guy, you know, I feel like I can do better than the guy next door. I'm going to throw in extras, I'm going to throw in freebies, okay? At the end of the day, that extras that you throw in are going to cost your business, okay? And you can see why many businesses fail is because they go in thinking that then net margins are much higher than they actually are, okay? And they base it mainly on looking at the food cost ratio, okay? They say, oh, you go to a restaurant, let's say I was out of the industry before this. I go to a restaurant and say, hey, you know, look at this. The wine here costs me $100 a bottle when I can buy it outside at $50 a bottle. Okay, that's 100% margin on my cost. Okay, yet that restaurant could very easily close, even because what's happening is that's only part of the story. That's only part of the cost. There's so much other stuff that goes into it. Your staffing, okay, is another major bugbear. Okay, in terms of costing, there'll be all sorts of levies and fees you have to pay, all sorts of licenses that need to be paid. All that adds up. And bear in mind that your after you do all your reno and all that, your equipment is going to fail from time to time, and that all that has to be borne as a natural part of your operating cost. So in this 30-30-30 rule operates globally, whether you're in New York, London, or in Singapore. Okay, because your pricing will be ultimately reflective of what the market can afford to pay, and your cost will be a portion of that.
Okay, Adrian, do you see this as something which affects most of the businesses today?
So I gotta tell you a story. Okay, so I've got this young associate. He's like mid-20s. He went and studied all the way. He studied university. He became a lawyer, and finally he got a job in a good law firm, which is where I work. And then he comes up to me and he says, "You know what? I'm quitting. I am resigning." So I said, "Dude, what? Why are you resigning from this job at this time?" He says, "Well, I'm going to start, get this, I'm going to start a restaurant. And I'm going to give up my legal career, which I worked 10 years for. And I told my parents, they reacted in a way that you would expect parents who have spent a small fortune on their kid to react. And he says, nevertheless, I'm going to do it." So I won't tell you his concept. I think it's a great concept, but you know, it's his intellectual property. But I'm just wondering, okay, so there's these optimists around, and I include everybody in this chat, because I was thinking, wow, this is a really tough time, and yet they're going out. He's going to find a kitchen that people apparently. There are ways to borrow kitchens from people over a few days, and then you do your own concept. And then he's going to do his
like food. A pop-up kind of restaurant.
Yes. Or is it more of a central kitchen?
No, it's more like a pop-up, like Dhershini says. But Dhershini, I don't know what that pop-up entails. Is it very realistic to do a pop-up?
I know of some people who do pop-ups. They borrow restaurant space from somebody and they just have like a 3-month contract or, you know, deal to have a space to, you know, sort of like feature their food. And I think it's quite a nice idea. If you have a lot of friends and you can pass the word around and your friends are very supportive, your customers are, you know, always backing you.
So he's saying that's the way forward. And I wanted to ask you guys, because I mean, we're talking about economics, right? So he says, okay, I'm going to just get a brand, put it on the internet, tell all my friends, and for a short period, I'm going to say only for this limited period, you come and eat. And I got two things. I got, for a short period, I got customers, and I can try out my concept, see whether people like it. But is that a good idea, or?
I think it's a very good idea.
But what happens if, say, the idea flies, it works very well, but you don't have a space after that, because you've only got a short term, and people have associated you with that space, and then you try and move, that's going to cause all sorts of other problems, right? So is this being very short-sighted? I mean, unless he wants to do something else other than a restaurant, he just wants the restaurant atmosphere and experience, but take it maybe to a YouTube channel or something like that.
No, he want, I mean, his dream, this is young people's dream. I mustn't use the M word, millennial.
I just did.
Young people.
Yeah. Okay, young people is safer. So this is his dream. His dream is to do what you guys are doing, which is to have his own restaurant. And I think this is a weird time for him to do it. But I can understand his concept. But like Kanan says, don't we associate a restaurant with a geographical, physical location? And then if we all get used to going to this place, then he goes, how?
Would you associate a restaurant with with the food or with the geographical position?
I think it's probably a combination of the two. The food is important, of course. I mean, it'll draw you. And there are people who hunt high and low for hawker stalls that have closed and have moved somewhere. But at the same time, it's easier for them to go to a place because they know it's there. If you move and there are other options available to them, then the chances are they won't try as hard to locate you. They'll just go to the other options.
So in law, there's this concept called goodwill. And for eating places, a lot of goodwill is located in a geographic location. So that's why when you look at hawker centers, for example, hawker stores, they tend to name their hawker stall after a location like Hill Street or Siglap or stuff like that, Casuarina, Prata or something. So, but I don't know whether we're moving away from that because in times like this, I think on the one hand, we want our food delivered. I don't know whether that's his idea. He gets a brand and then he gets people to order from him. Or on the other hand, he really wants a permanent home. But this just ties in with the rent stuff that was discussed earlier, that they end up overpaying for rent and spending too much on ID.
Well, aren't you getting a lot of good rental deals now? Because the property market has gone all over the place, on South mainly.
Actually, quite a good deal we get.
Even
rental.
With yours?
Yeah, you get quite a good deal.
Did you get a long-term or a short-term rental deal?
Yeah, it's like a two-year plus one, 2+1.
So if you're doing well and you're
sure
past COVID in 2 years, it's going to spike. So
I'm sure. So we're ready to move lah. If you do well. That's the way it is, right?
I suppose the other thing that's come up during this period is also, as Adrian pointed out, the fact that people want the food delivered, right? It's home delivery. Is that something that you guys offer? Any of you?
Well, let me say when COVID came in and then we had the circuit breaker, okay, we thought about doing delivery, okay, and we went through the maths of the finances, and we figured that would be, for the amount of volume that we could push out, okay, our cost of bringing in the staff, turning on the lights and the ovens and all that, okay, would not justify the operation, okay, and it would be cheaper for us to stay at home and do nothing. Partly because ultimately we got free rentals, okay. Otherwise it would be a painful proposition. But I think the takeaway model has, because you're going to get a depreciation of food quality regardless of what you're going to do, unless you play the pizza game, okay, or pizza burger game. It can't be high-end stuff generally, because you have to recognize that movement of food is going to degrade your food quality, and that could affect your brand in the future. Okay,
Right.
so
That's right.
unless you create a specific brand for food delivery, not identify directly, or where people will understand that they are paying for delivered food which is going to be of a lower quality than if you came to your restaurant and had it there. Okay, but seriously, if you're playing higher up the food chain in terms of uh, food, premium food quality or just a regular, well, then I think it's not such a good proposition in terms of okay, running a delivery. So we opted out of that, and we said, um, let's observe. Let's observe what the competition is doing, okay, and have we got our calculations wrong? And we observed, and a few other Japanese restaurants were trying to play the game, and after 2 weeks, they decided, no, it's not for them. They stopped as well. Okay, so it was only the lower order. Okay, that means you're talking about your mixed rice chap fans, okay, or your pizza was doing an incredible business during the CB. Okay, incredible.
I'm sure burgers as well. Yeah.
I have to step in here and say Indian food travels really well.
Oh, right. Okay.
Curry?
Yes.
Maybe it's the kind of cuisine you're dealing with, Arul. It's sushi, right? I mean, it's got to be fresh. It's got to be consumed there and then most of the time. It'll be hard for you to travel. And all you need is for the delivery guy to be stuck in traffic and the sun is blazing down on it. And it's going to be terrible.
Correct. And the most we can do is, batter boxes and stuff that doesn't need presentation. But because what we do, it involves a lot of plating skills as well. That doesn't travel. There's a zero travel option. You see?
So it's the experience after all for you, isn't it? Then for your restaurant, it's a full experience. Do you have that, Stephen? Would you be able to deliver your food, for instance, your dim sum?
I would not for the start, I would not want to go out and deliver or even have the Grab or Food Panda come in just yet until maybe very much later. One is because you got to mark up your bill, right? Your food prices, you got to mark up at least 30% more than when you come into the restaurant. I'd rather people come into the restaurant and eat fresh, hot food rather than cold food.
So the 30% goes towards the delivery service?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
And on top of that, you got to pay delivery charges. I mean, I think you all pay like $4.90 or $5 sometimes.
Okay.
Getting higher and higher delivery charges. So I think not advisable. I wouldn't do that for the start. I'll do that very much later, when the demand is there. But
you can do takeaways. They can
yes, I'll do takeaways. You come in and you take away, it's fine. But I won't do deliveries. Like you were saying, Dhershini, Indian food can go a long way.
Yes.
Indian food is fine. You can eat it cold. It's still, wow, yummy, right?
You can always keep it in a day. You can't finish it.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, sometimes overnight curry tastes better, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question here from Dom, who's asking, what do you guys like to eat, and does this sort of influence the business that you've gone into and the direction that your restaurants are taking?
So I'll jump in and start the ball rolling. So there's two things that as lawyers and professionals, people working in Raffles Place, we need. One is we need to do business development. We need to go and talk to customers and potential clients. We need to go and meet people. And Singapore, we used to do that in a food setting. We used to have our favorite restaurants. The budget is right. The parking is okay. The service is nice. It's a nice atmosphere. So far, nothing to do with food. It's just convenience, and it facilitates me trying to get business out of someone or someone trying to get business out of me. And it's got a social element as well. Number two, what we need to do is we need to have team building. we need to go and meet people, make sure our lawyers are all working together. So we need a big space together. And again, not so much to do with food. Food is an excuse. And during circuit breaker, we were missing all that. It's super hard to keep in touch with our clients. We tried various things. You know, it's funny to meet someone over Zoom and say, let's have a coffee over Zoom. It's so fake. Come on now. There's no curry puff. Yeah, but
Adrian, you're over curry puffs.
yeah,
I think
I am.
he's got a curry puff fixation. So
Yeah.
you'll have
been a while.
to feed that down the line.
I see my doctor about it. He says I should taper off, and yeah, we're working together to solve the problem, substitutes. But basically, we're missing that. So sometimes when I see the question, which is a great question, what do we like to eat? I think, well, I like to eat a lot of things, but it's more about what I like to experience. I like to be in a place to meet my friends and my customers and talk to them. I like to have nice service. I like to have nice surroundings. And really then the food, as long as it's not horrible, it's fine. So food, bottom of the list.
Okay.
I would tend to agree with that. You know, what we sell is a dining experience rather than just food. It's got to be a composite of all those elements that come into play.
So what's your favorite cuisine, Arul?
For me, well, actually, I like Thai, Cantonese, French. So Japanese doesn't even figure into that.
So for sure, you won't be eating much of your own restaurants'
Well, I do
food, right? You
eat-
won't be eating into your food costs.
That's right. I don't eat in my food court. But I have to say, because it's a small restaurant, I try not to eat there at peak times. You know, so even if I am entertaining, I would tend to choose off-peak hours or on off-peak days. Never on a Friday or Saturday. Don't utilize your assets, you know, and kill off your own business, you know.
Stephen?
Oh, for me, I love any kind of food, you know, from Japanese. One of my favorites, Japanese, of course. Uni is my favorite.
Yeah.
You sell uni at your place?
Yeah, of course. We do both live uni as well as
Wow. Really?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Popeye. For me, Japanese, you know, Thai, Indian food I love, you know, Malay food, Chinese. No preference. As long as it is good and nice, I will frequent there. I will often go to the place and go back to it.
I think you've got a very good point there because, you know, in Malaysia and Singapore, as long as the food is very good, that's the other end of the argument. As long as the food is good, people will travel a long way because that's on a stool next to a drain and enjoy the food. It all adds to the aroma and the overall effect, right? It doesn't matter sometimes what you're eating, and it all depends. I mean, it depends what you're eating and where, right? If you're like if you're sitting by the roadside eating durians, it's tasty and bring the durians back home and eating it in aircon comfort.
Exactly.
Right?
And also, I think we're quite versatile in our choices, right? We go to some place and the restaurant is closed. We have no issues switching to another cuisine altogether. But the standard should be there, right? The quality should be there. I suppose, Dhershini, for you, Indian food has always been part of your DNA and your psyche and everything. And so you started Chat Masala in that vein.
Yeah. But I'm always on the hunt for a really good biryani. And, you know, I must say that that's one of my very, very good choices of food.
Have you found a good one yet?
A couple of them, yes. Chat Masala has a very good biryani.
Yeah, your prawn biryani is very good.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, we have prawn and we have fish, we have chicken, and our mutton biryani is tops because, you know, it's really, really good.
Yeah. So Adrian is already keying all that into his.
Because you know, I'm nutritionally promiscuous. Because the moment I like one thing, then something else comes along, and I think, hey, I think I gotta try that, and then I think I gotta try that, and then before long, I'm like sleeping around, you know, in
Eating around.
Eating around is probably better. Today I eat this and then that, but I'll still go back to this store and say, oh, you're the best, you know, you're the one forever. But secretly, you know, I will go somewhere else.
Yeah,
And
you check out the competition.
You know, this is my duty, right? I mean, I owe it. But you know, one of the things I was thinking is, everyone has their favorites, but then there's some people who can't eat so many different things. And then I was thinking, that's always a problem, because the biggest part of my budget is like for gatherings, for corporate clients or colleagues, and I got to find a place, and it would be great if a place has options. So what are the options? It used to be just a halal option, because if I have a group of people, chances are there'll be somebody who wants halal food. So place must be halal. So we would go to like Holiday Inn, the one on Scots. That's right, always good buffet. But then nowadays with younger people, I can't say the M word, millennial. Then I gotta have non-dairy, vegan, vegetarian, and you name it. And I myself, I don't like to have certain foods. I don't like dairy and stuff like that because I'm Chinese. So am I the only Chinese on this panel?
I'm half Chinese.
Oh, you're half Chinese. Okay, so we have 1.5 Chinese here. Yes. So apparently we can't handle dairy that well. So the main restaurants that I need to go to are very limited because they need to offer these options for me. So when I see stuff like Impossible Burger or Beyond Sausage or something, then I think, okay, that's the way forward. If more restaurants can introduce these items and be creative with them, it really helps me out a lot, because then I can book these places and I can say, don't worry, I catered for so-and-so and so-and-so who's coming.
Okay. Do you find that tastes have been changing, or trends have been setting new sort of tastes? And I think people moving into veganism, the impossible meats and stuff like that. Is that going to be something that's going to eventually take over a lot of the F&B area, or do you think that's just a niche thing and it won't grow beyond what it is?
I think it's more a niche thing, I think.
Yeah.
I can't see that taking over the whole food business, you know? Yeah.
They can't
having a bigger say, maybe?
I don't think that's the way it's going to go. No.
Okay.
Arul, a question. Arul, sorry to interrupt. Earlier you said the 30 is food cost, staffing, and what's the other one? I forgot.
Rental.
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 Rental, and that also includes marketing and admin.
Yeah,
okay?
marketing.
Licensing and all that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So essentially, you're paying for footfall in this sector. Okay.
Right.
So if you don't pay enough for rental, you probably have to pay more for marketing. Okay, to bring footfall into your restaurant. Yeah. So, like if you're in a very high traffic area, you don't have to spend on marketing, and you're going to have to pay for rental. It all adds up to the same thing.
Right.
Would scaling be important in this? I mean, if you can grow your business into more outlets into the region, some of your costs can be spread across, like your marketing and your, maybe not your rental, but certainly your marketing and things like that can be spread across more outlets. So that would reduce that component. Would scaling be something that would help F&B businesses?
I think you have to take into account that you have a quota system for staff. So if if you're going to hire people and open so many restaurants, and you know that you can get the staff, that's fine. But if if you're going to be hard pressed to find people to do work, then you're going to be having a very difficult time.
Agree. Yeah, I'm finding a tough time finding for staff as well.
Yes. And the quota system is what actually gave us a lot of problems, because we needed specialist chefs, people who can actually put their hands into a 400-degree oven, and not every single. I don't think we could hire Singaporeans who were able to do that, and if we did, they come at a very heavy cost.
That's right. Yeah, that's the problem I'm having right now. You know, even waiters, you know, no Singaporeans want to work.
Yes.
Yeah, even a teh tarik guy, right?
Yeah.
Just to stand there and do teh tarik.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much he wants?
Yes.
$550 a day,
Yes.
you know, or 3,006 minimum a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of salary people are asking.
Yeah.
You know,
And there's
this
no
ridiculous.
assurance that he's going to stay with you forever.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
down the road, 1 year, he decides to find another job, he will just go, right?
Yeah, that's right. Tough, you know. And how are we to support Singaporeans when, you know, they're not flexible and they're
Yeah.
like, you know, I mean, you open up the jobs to them, but, you know, they want high price, they don't want to work.
Yes.
They want short hours. You know, oh, I only want to work 6 hours a day. I mean, how are you going to run a restaurant 6 hours a day when you open 12 hours a day, right? You know what I'm saying?
Even you're in for the hard run.
I know. That's why I'm trying to keep it within the family now. I'm asking my son, my wife, everybody come and work.
Yeah, Arul, you wanted to say something?
There are 2 points there. 2 points. One is positioning of restaurants and ability to scale. And the second point is staffing costs and the difficulty of finding Singaporeans. Okay, so let me take the second point first, which is the difficulty of finding staff and Singaporeans in particular. What I found is because of your 44-hour per week restriction in terms of man hours, okay, most restaurants, okay, in order to cover the rent, have to have a split shift. Okay, so that means, for example, we operate, you know, our restaurant hours themselves from 12 to 2:30, and then from 6 to 9:30. Okay, that allows us to operate 7 days a week, and then have enough additional staff so that they can have their days off, all required by law. Now, uh, in there are 2 ways. In a hotel, they would have two shifts a day.
Yeah.
Okay, and much more staff. Okay, and that adds to their fixed cost. And this is okay, very interesting, because it brings me back to the 30-30-30 rules, where your fixed costs are 60%. Okay, which is your staffing and your rental. Your food cost is a variable cost. Okay, but that means you're stuck with it 60%, regardless of whether you're any customers walking in or not. Okay. Now, Singaporeans generally, okay, if they're family men or family women, okay, don't want to work a split shift. It means they have to come in the morning, okay, and while they'll have a break after lunch and before the getting ready for the evening shift, they generally sleep in the restaurant. Okay, they don't really have time to go back and spend time with their families. Okay, they will then have to start work and finish at around 9:30. Okay, if they're in a Chinese or Japanese restaurant. If it's a Western restaurant, they will finish later. Um, and then only will they go back to have time with their families. So you're talking about very minimal family contact. Okay, this is where the foreign worker has an advantage. He has already decided to deport himself from his home and family from another country, live at very reasonable cost to him by sharing. Okay, sometimes 2 people, sometimes even 4 people, 2 people per room, or 6 people in an apartment. They might share. Okay, now that brings down their overall cost, and they are able to work at a lower cost. And even despite the levy, okay, what happens is they are prepared to do the job. They're prepared to take on a split shift and work at it. I've had so many Singaporeans who come in and then they say, I'm sorry, this is not for me. I need to spend time with my family. My family is more important. That is a big problem. It's not even the levies. The levies are just adding more cost to restaurateurs, okay, without actually addressing the fundamental problem of your fixed cost, which you have to cover, and therefore we cannot afford to have 2 separate shifts in a day. Okay, We have to do the split shift from the 44 hours, otherwise you're never going to break even. You're going to be running a loss operation, okay?
Yeah.
And what that means is you may hire people, and after a year, you close shop, and all those people will be laid off again. So it doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So, right. The other question on scaling is, and before I finish, in this situation of COVID and layoffs, recently we put out an ad for very junior position, junior chef, or and also have maybe washing up dishes. And with that ad, we had more than 100 applications. Okay. Now, most of them, I have to say, I would say about a third of them are people overqualified for the job. They are managers, past it, and we were offering only something like 1,800. Okay. Now we're talking about managers who are making $4,000 to $5,000. Okay, applying for the job, prepared to take anything, but we can't hire them, and the reason is this: because we know that as soon as they get the job that they really want, they're going to leave us.
That's right.
Okay, so what's the point? So we have to find the fit. It may be a lower qualified person, but he has the right fit of skills and expectations, right? And that's where we can train the guy, and he will gradually improve and stay with us.
That's right.
There's no point taking on a guy who is overqualified and who has no customer, company loyalty. Okay.
Right.
The second point is on the scaling. Now, I analyze it on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, and I demarcate restaurants. Let's take the Japanese, for example. So on the low end of the scale, let us say you have the conveyor belt Japanese. Okay, let's say Detacher sushi or $2 sushi pieces. Okay, at the midpoint you have Sushi Tei, family restaurant. Okay, 100 to 200 seats. Okay, then at the high end you have the Wakujin, the Michelin, 3-star Michelins. Okay, so at either end of the scale, at the low end and the hawkers level, or at the very high end, they are not scalable. Okay, the hawker is working and he is going to be functioning on his own. His cost and entire economics are based on one person doing the job. His pricing is also there on one person doing the job. He's not having to pay additional staff, or if he has additional staff, they are his family members. Okay, so he's able to operate cheaply, but he cannot scale it because once he scales, he has to bring in hire people, and it's a whole new ballgame. At the high end, okay, you have the Wakujins from the 3-star Michelins. They also cannot scale, and they have extremely high costs, extremely high fixed costs that the restaurant is probably losing money for its shareholders. Okay, but who is making money here? It's the chef. Okay, the chef makes money because he is building a brand for himself. Okay, and this is where at the highest level you have chef owners. Okay, if you get investors coming in, the investors are probably not going to make money. Where is the chef going to make his money? From TV appearances, from videos, from building up his brand, endorsements. Okay, it's not from the restaurant itself. The restaurant is designed to make minimal profit or break even. Okay, and yet provide extremely good dining experience for its patrons. Okay, so you had even in the UK, Fat Duck, the best restaurant in the world at one time, and they all lost money. Okay, despite them being able to get extremely good chefs working for them at a pittance. And those chefs work at a pittance because they want it on the resume that they worked at the Fat Duck, worked at this restaurant, whatever. They want to put it, and then they will move on, okay, with the set of skills that they've developed, either open their own restaurant or work in another restaurant at a higher pay. Okay, but they will move down the chain from 10, let's say, down to 8. So let's take where the scaling is easiest. The scaling is easiest at the mid-level, at the Sushi Tei level, where you have unnamed chefs. You don't know who the chefs are. You have a menu which is easily easy to replicate, okay, and the skill level is not high, okay. They are easy to do recipes with predetermined ingredients, some of which if they centralize the kitchen, they can keep their costs low, and because of scale, they get their ingredients cheaper, okay, and they don't have to spend on marketing because they're such well-known brands that what they do is choose location, pay for location, and that's where the 30% comes in.
Okay,
So,
we're running a bit short of time. Those are good points that you've raised. Good for anybody looking into this to consider. Just a few questions that have come up. One is asking, with all the COVID situation, how much has business been affected by the fact that you have to reduce numbers, you can't bring large numbers of people to the restaurant? Yours is a small restaurant, no doubt, but some sort of indication whether business is down 20%, 50% or whatever?
is that
Yeah, you're the only one with operation
okay.
at the moment.
Yeah, well, we've had to reduce our seating capacity by something like 25 to 30%. Okay, so that has affected our revenue takings on weekends, especially. Okay, so it doesn't affect you so much during the week when we don't have that much volume, let's say on a Monday or Tuesday, right? But yeah, it does impact your revenue. Okay, so but we're making do. Yeah.
Okay, so you're still managing it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, as there's another question about the home businesses and how people are using social media more. Do you think that will be a trend that will? Well, I think it's been effective for some because they've suddenly found they're discovering new things that they can cook and they can market. And there's a lady selling Morocco, for instance, and specializing on that. Then there's a lot of home bakers. They're making cakes and selling it. And would that be something that will continue, you think, and be part of the dining environment? Well, not so much dining, but the food environment? Or will they go back to other things once, you know, this pandemic has been resolved with the vaccine found and all that kind of stuff? What do you reckon? Adrian, would you?
Got a very good Morocco recipe that seems to, you know, be hitting the market, or if you are a very good baker, I really think that you should actually, you know, go on social media and promote yourself and get it going, because, you know, a good Morocco is amazing at tea time.
Okay. So if you've got a killer product, then go for it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Have you guys discovered any such you know, killer products out there that you find, wow, okay, this is good, they should continue, and they will probably do well?
Cakes. My wife hasn't baked cake never in her life, so now starting, so it's good. I mean, I got musician friends, you know, because music line, and I mean the entertainment industry is totally out of the zone right now, you know, until God knows when, right? So everybody is like baking, cooking, you know, doing their own things, really. And then some of them are pretty good, you know, and we support them by ordering from them, you know, and we taste some of it. It's not bad. And some of them are even thinking of starting, you know, a small shop, just doing baking or whatever, cooking. And now they have this rental kitchen thing, you know. I don't know if you are aware about it, you know. You can rent a kitchen, you know, like a central kitchen thing. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think they're pretty expensive. I inquire once.
It may not be worth the effort.
Yeah,
not
worth it. Yeah. So like you said, you know, how long is this gonna go on? Will it go on forever or until the pandemic is over? You know.
Arul?
All right. Speaking of scaling, okay, one of the questions maybe Adrian can answer is in terms of proprietary recipes. Okay, how do you protect that?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we're seeing a rise of first people taking to social media. They're trying to brand themselves, food or other products, and this is my recipe, this is my brand. And as soon as something is successful, the biggest compliment someone can pay you is imitation. So somebody will come along and try and ride on your reputation. So we're seeing a lot more of that. Whenever you get social media, you get followers, you get people who try and copy you. So you got to protect a couple of things. One, your brand. So your brand is two things. It's a word and it's a logo. Now, the simple thing in Singapore is to go online to ipos.gov.sg and register your trademark. It's very cheap. It's done online. No lawyers will be harmed in the process. You can do it all yourself. And that's because Singapore government, their life's mission is to put lawyers out of work. And they're doing a great job. But anyway, protect your brand, register it. And then for your recipes, you can't protect it that way. But as far as possible, I think you got to still keep your secret sauce somewhere. Don't expose everything online. As my mother liked to say, don't give away all the goods. So you should still keep your secret blend of herbs and spices if possible. But please register your trademarks.
Good advice. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you for the
Dhershini, how about you? Any sort of things out there which have caught your eye?
You know what I really, really enjoy at tea time is also like Adrian, very good curry puff. And I live in Pasir Ris, and there's a mall called Elias Mall where I get the best, and I really think it's the best, sardine curry puff. So Adrian, anytime you're around this area, just bear in mind.
Okay, that's a good note to wind up this session. Hey, thanks, Dhershini, Adrian, Arul, and Stephen. Thanks for your insights, your inputs. I think the food industry will always have us by the tongue, in the throat, and the belly, and will continue to prevail. I just hope that it will sort itself out soon in terms of the COVID environment, and we can go back to meeting up with people and friends out there in the open at Sushi Airways or at the Stephen's new restaurant, which is Kampong Amin Dim Sum, right, in the Jalan Besar area. And when is it opening?
Maybe in about 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time. Okay, great.
Okay.
And
I'll
Dhershini,
invite you guys for the opening. I hope.
Super. And Dhershini will wind up at your place for one of those meals soon too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Adrian, you're welcome to join any of them and all of them. Yeah. Great. Hey, thanks so much. Till the next session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.